Hello and welcome to the workshop. In the workshop today I'm going to explain how I've insulated the roof space of my workshop and how I put a loft space into the roof of my workshop for additional storage. And that's all coming up. Okay, so I began to insulate the workshop at the beginning of July and put a video up at the beginning of August explaining how I did the walls. Now this project overall, including the roof, has pretty much dominated my summer, and if it wasn't really for the feedback that I had on that earlier video, then I probably wouldn't have perhaps made this one where I talk about the roof space. The roof space has been really difficult to film in. And so this isn't going to be a step-by-step guide as to how to do it. I'm really just going to sort of show you around the roof space and explain what I did. I'll also talk a little bit about the loft, which was put in June of last year. So ultimately this is a project where the thermal efficiency of the materials that I've used has dominated the thinking and the design and the overall approach. I've chosen to go with foil-backed PIR insulation in the roof space. In total thickness, there's around about 100 millimeters of insulation in the roof in 2 layers. So we moved into the house way back in June of last year, and as a result of the move, all sorts of light boxes, Christmas decorations, spare chairs, little bits of furniture, boxes from the kitchen that we didn't have room for, all made their way into the garage, and I immediately boarded out an area over the top of the garage door for those items to basically be stored. What I then decided to do was to make that sort of permanent loft space. So I've installed a wall across one of the trusses and then created a hatch through which I've put a standard wooden loft ladder, and it means I've got kind of continuous access to that space. I just need to move my planer thicknesser out of the way and everything's good to go. So it's worth pointing out that the roof trusses weren't designed to carry a loft floor and boxes and other things. Really it's just there to support the roof tiles on the outside. I have strengthened the horizontal rafters in order to support the floor more, and whilst I've not done any sort of complicated calculations because I'm really not an engineer, I consider that to be sufficient for the light boxes that I've thrown up there and the weight of the loft hatch itself. And to finish everything off, I've created a ceiling underneath the rafters from plasterboard. It's not a finish that I'm particularly happy with, and I may well come back at a later date and do a somewhat better job. So I really wanted to keep the open vaulted space here. Really, it kind of gives a sense of space when you're in. I could have easily installed a ceiling, and also it gives me somewhere for my air cleaner to go. So that was one of the first things that I put in over a year ago, and then I've kind of fitted the panel lights that you see in the rafters as well. So to that end, the approach that I've taken really is to deal with a sort of pitch roof situation. Between the rafters supporting the roof tiles, I've placed 40mm insulation into the space and then taped all of the joints. Each length of insulation is around about 1.9 meters long, but in most cases, because of some supporting structure in the roof, I've had to cut those pieces into 2 or 3 sections in order to actually manage to get them into the roof space and fit them, and all of those joints then are sealed with foil tape. The next step really then was to batten out the joists so that the next layer of insulation would clear the sort of structural elements within the roof. That was a far easier job to do than to try and cut all of the pieces and shape them around the timber that was there. And then on top of those battens, 30mm of PIR insulation has been put. These didn't need to be cut in anything like the sizes as before, but yet again all of the joints and all of the screw holes taped and sealed. Now to complete the insulation up there, I need to think about what to do with the ridge. So I put some additional sort of horizontal battens in off of the vertical pieces, and attached to those are some shaped pieces of PR insulation that fit nicely into that sort of V shape at the top of the roof. I installed all of that one weekend, and I came out here to do some bits and pieces and kind of noticed that I've got a ventilated ridge tile that runs along the top of the roof, and it was allowing an awful lot of wind noise in on a particularly windy day. So what I've done subsequently is I've put some sound slab acoustic insulation above that boarded out, or that installed strip of insulation, and that really has cut the wind noise down considerably. With that done, everything taped once again, and then I could install the insulation on the far wall as well, and that was really the last thing that I did in the project up in the roof. So there's a lot of detailing that I need to concentrate on now, and in particular the eaves. Now, in the construction of the roof space, the eaves just really go open to the outside through some really flimsy UPVC trim on the exterior of the garage. Now, what I've done to mitigate that really is to use sound slab insulation into the space, and you can see above here then I've just used some strips of MDF cut to fill in the gap. Ultimately I want to put some cabinets on the walls at sort of ceiling height, and when those cabinets go in, then I'll finish off that eave space and make sure that that's a proper seal, preventing sort of warm air from inside sort of leaking through the roof structure. So this might not be entirely for you. The finish is foil backed, and it gives a sort of interior of a spaceship sort of feel. Taping all of the joints is not a tidy thing by any stretch of the imagination, because in real life you'd be putting an interior skin over the insulation and decorating that. I've chosen not to do that. I have to say I'm pretty happy with it overall. Working in that roof space has been a real pain for a good number of weeks, and I'm quite pleased that I can sort of put a lot of this behind me now and just get on with other stuff. But way back at the end of August we had a mini heat wave. It was close to 30 degrees outside and a good 5 or 6 degrees cooler inside the workshop during that time. So I feel like this has been a successful project. So what would you do differently? Is there anything here that you think I need to take another look at? If so, then let me know in the comments below. Could you incorporate anything that you've seen here into your workshop, garage or shed? Again, if you've got a project like this in mind, I'd love to hear about it. So if you've enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're not a subscriber to my channel, I really would invite you to do that. And for now, thanks for watching. Cheerio.